Thank you for being there. Thanks to you, we all become better, happier, purer, kinder, much more beautiful. I have a question. I have been praying for 8 years now, engaging in charity work, but it's not customary to talk about it.
I asked you second. I asked her first because it was the most important thing to talk to her here. Now I'm asking you, no one else. Why, I don't know.
I meditate a lot, but nothing changes in my life.
Because God wants to develop you. A person lives eternally. You think you live one life, but he knows it's eternal.
I want close, heartfelt relationships.
Build them with spiritual companions. Find your faith. Find like-minded people. Build close relationships with them. Find a mentor. Find spiritually developed people. Build close relationships with them. If God wills, he may give you a husband in this life. Have you been married? Well, what happened?
My husband found a younger woman and married her.
This means that you didn't develop conscience in your relationship. That means when a woman doesn't serve God, the husband doesn't become conscientious. People live for family, for children. A woman thinks this will keep her husband. A man is not held by his wife, children, apartments. Nothing holds him. If there's no God in life, he always leaves for another woman. The only way to keep a person by your side is to make God awaken in his heart in the form of conscience.
Thank you very much.
Not just thank you very much, listen to me further. Just understand this thing. Do you want to get married or not? That's the question. Because if a woman wants to get married, she simply becomes strong, beautiful, cheerful, and simply knocks a man off his feet with her inner strength, and that's it. And you can easily do this, but you don't. Therefore, I immediately have a question. Do you really want to get married? That's the question. Because you live completely differently, behave differently, meaning you're not moving in this direction. Some guy won't jump on you from a cloud, so you must achieve it with your feminine strength. This doesn't mean that you're courting someone. That means a woman just becomes strong, she shows herself in society. And then some man simply can't resist this, he has to marry her. You don't behave like this.
How to find this strength?
There's only one question. Do you need this or not? Right, they confirm, they sneeze there, everyone confirms this for you. Do you need this? It's not necessary that a person develops better in a couple. Sometimes a person develops better when they have a lot of spiritual communication, prayer. They become a very developed spiritual person. Therefore, it's not certain that you need a partner, but if you do need one, then move in that direction. You don't look like a person who wants to get married. You look like a person who doesn't feel happiness in life, but that's a different question, because there is spiritual happiness. One can become so involved in a relationship with God that they become 1,000 times happier than a person who has a couple. When people live together, they still experience difficult fate alongside the good fate. And they experience both happiness and sorrow. It's not that they only get happiness if they meet someone. If a person thinks about spiritual life, they only receive happiness, and that's all if they really engage in it. So I'm asking you, what do you want from life? Because I don't see in you the desire to get married that other women show.
I'm a bit different in character, more modest.
Oh, it doesn't matter. If a woman wants to get married, she so modestly makes eyes at men. It's even more dangerous that everyone falls around from this modesty. You don't want to knock anyone off their feet, but how will he fall in love with you then? How will he love you then?
By the call of the heart.
That's your mistake. No man ever loves a woman for her soul, heart, and actions. He simply doesn't see it. Men are stupid in these matters, absolutely stupid. That means they only see external things in a woman, only her allure. And they only marry them for this. And if we talk about the soul, about actions, then a mentor can see such things in you. I, for example, see you, your soul, your actions, but I'm senior and therefore I have no lust for you. I see you, your purity, but men who want to marry a woman are lonely. They don't see the depth because they want to enjoy a person, not see their purity. A person's purity doesn't bring enjoyment, other things do. That's why I'm asking you, do you want to get married or not? That's the question. Or do you want something else from men that they simply don't have? Such relationships exist among monks, but monks won't marry you. Therefore I say, find yourself a mentor who will see you as a soul. Find spiritual sisters and brothers who will see you as a soul. But if you want a husband, he will see you as a woman, and maybe he will see you as a soul, if he's lucky, if he behaves correctly, as he should in life. He will see you as a soul over time, and then he will experience true happiness with you. But during this time, he must refuse to enjoy your body. He must perceive you more sublimely as a person. Because there are only two options for enjoying a person, either as a body or as a soul. It's impossible to enjoy both, never. Either you see a person as a body, or you strive to see them as a soul. But when you've seen them as a soul, bodily joy will no longer give you as much pleasure as before. There may still be something, but it won't have such significance in life. You simply don't know anything about these matters. You somehow strongly believe in pure love between a man and a woman. Pure love exists only towards God. Love between a man and a woman is defiled by the desire to enjoy. It's not such a pure love. Therefore, people commit foolishness, various infidelities. If it were all so pure, then there would be no quarrels, scandals. If a person loves purely, they accept everything, forgive and endure. But if people argue, it means there isn't complete purity. Purity means sacrifice, compassion. But people don't sacrifice themselves to each other. They rather demand this sacrifice, which means there's no full purity. Some purity can exist if God is involved in the relationship. Then there will be some purity. As much as they serve God together, that much purity.
Thank you.
Why thank me? We haven't resolved this question. What do you want?
I understand that I'm not ready for marriage yet.
Not ready for marriage yet. That's what I wanted to tell you. So choose. If you want to get married, smile, become beautiful, give a man the opportunity to love you. They're stupid. They can't see the soul. They only see external things. Give them the opportunity to see this. And if you want spiritual happiness, then seek it in relationships with elders, with spiritual brothers and sisters, with God. Separate these two things. Understand what you want, otherwise you'll be hanging in the air like a dandelion all your life.
Tell me, how to stop passing the suffering of living beings through oneself?
You shouldn't pass suffering through yourself. If you see someone suffering, you can start thinking about God and overcome their fate. If you think that suffering together with a person helps them, it's a misconception. And if you still feel the suffering of others, it means you should pray for them. And if you feel it and don't pray, it's simply madness. If you feel someone suffering and suffer along with them, it's just madness. It's like going to save a person from a swamp and starting to drown together with them. A person shouldn't even enter the swamp. They should give a stick and pull them out while standing on firm ground. Therefore, when a person thinks about God, they don't feel the suffering of others. They are stronger than these sufferings. They feel it to some extent, but they perceive it as a volume of work, not as suffering. For example, if I'm communicating with you, I don't allow myself to suffer along with you. Otherwise, we'd be like, oh, how hard it is for you to live. Oh, yes, ooh. And will that help you? No. It will help you if I say, my dear, calm down, calm down, calm down. If you strongly want me to ask you, you won't hear me.
Dr. Torsunov, I've been waiting for an answer for 2 years.
Only humility wins over and gives an opportunity to ask. Not a strong desire, not a demand, nothing like that. Only humility. Sir, your question. I'm glad to see you.
Dr. Torsunov, I welcome you to our land.
Yes, thank you very much. I remember you. Please have a seat. Yes, of course. Please sit down. What's your question?
Last year I asked you when my daughters would get married, and it happened. You said that the first one would get married in a month and a half, 2 months. For the second one, it would happen within a year. And indeed, my older daughter, who lives in Turkey, got married. Now my younger daughter received a proposal today.
The younger one got ahead, right? So what's the question?
What will happen to my third daughter?
The third one, that's the middle one, right?
Yes.
You need to pray for her. There's just one problem. She's being picky. She's not ready to marry just anyone. And God gives her opportunities, but she doesn't accept them. You need to pray somehow for her to become more humble. She can get married soon, but whether she will agree to it, I don't know, because she's not quite ready to agree yet.
Well, maybe she's too smart, right?
That too. She inherited this from you. She's very much like you, the middle daughter. You're a very intelligent person, and she's intelligent too. She looks at men critically, which often hinders a woman. To get married, you need to be a little bit foolish. Later, when she examines his qualities, it's already too late, but at least she's living with him. Tell her this and she'll think about it further. Because if she has an opportunity now, if she refuses, then I don't know what will happen next. I can't say anything.
So there is such an opportunity in life.
Definitely, yes, definitely. I'll tell you again. She will be the one to decide. And her decision won't be easy. Be happy.
Thank you.
My dears, calm down, otherwise I won't ask you at all. You just need to calm down. Rely on God's will, not on your own strength to push me, but on God's will. So we're waiting for you to calm down. Here's your question, young lady in national dress. I really like it when people come in national dress.
Good afternoon. I'm very glad to see you. I have this question. I attended a lecture and understood that there are 4 stages. First is falling in love. Second is accepting the person, my husband. Third stage is to take care of him. And fourth is the truth. I'll say that, thank God, we lived happily. In our life, there were only 2 scandals. And this was during the time when he found another woman. In general, I wanted to ask, I unconsciously understood my husband, meaning I loved him and thanked God for having such a husband. I also took care of him unconsciously. My question is, how did it happen that despite the fact that I already understood him and even took care of him selflessly, he still married another woman? He has divorced now, of course.
I know this answer, and this answer is an entire lecture. Because today's lecture topic, the sense of self-worth, is exactly this topic, because taking care of a loved one doesn't mean being worthy. You lacked a sense of self-worth. You were humiliated in this relationship. And when a person is humiliated, they lose their beauty and strength. You need to understand that taking care doesn't mean humiliation. You've gone through this lesson in life, but because you strongly believe in God and you're a very chaste person, you got your husband back. God gave him back to you, but all people who humiliate themselves before loved ones in relationships, they undoubtedly destroy their own life and the life of their loved one as well. That's why we're talking about this topic today. It's very serious and needs to be known. This topic needs to be studied. How should a person set themselves up to overcome fate? And now put it down in front of me. Like this, so that everyone can see the flowers, so they can be charged. Just put it right there. Be happy. Yes, of course.
Can I ask one more question? Here's the second question. It's that I had faith in Allah.
What do you mean you had?
You say that if you believe in your husband more than in God, then there may be trials because of this.
Well, this is a deep reason. The superficial reason is that you humiliated yourself. And the deep one is that you don't understand that you need to put God above everyone, and then everyone loves you too after that, if you've passed this exam. But if a person falls in love with someone stronger than in God, this is called love, faith in a person. If a person applies love, faith to another person, that means they start believing not in God, but in a person, then they lose that person for sure, 100%.
I just wanted to clarify. Last year my mother passed away and I was broken because of love. Can this trial be the hardest in my life? Does it mean that future trials will be more or less easier than this one?
I bless you so that your future trials will be easier, but I can't promise you anything because you're confusing me with God now. I can only bless you to understand everything correctly and be able to pass the trials. Because it depends on knowledge, but I can't promise because it's God who decides how much a person will be tested.
Okay, but I'm going through this trial, working on myself, I'm correcting my spiritual mistakes. How can my husband correct himself?
Your husband is already attending lectures. This is simply great for a man. Just look at how many women and how many men are here. If a man has come to a lecture, you don't need to say anything else. He'll understand everything himself. When a man starts to listen to another person, to heed the opinion of elders, everything in his life starts to improve. He doesn't need to worry about anything else. You need to get her married off. She won't do it herself. She won't get married on her own. You also need to knock some sense into her so she agrees faster. She's too proud. She's already turned down 2 men, right? Tell her she shouldn't turn down the 3rd one. There may be someone in between who's not serious about her, but there will be one person soon. Well, not too soon, but within 2 years, who will be very well-intentioned. But you see, she's like a princess who thinks, I'm the queen here. You need to tell her that if she sees a serious person, she should marry him. No need to be picky. Well, now you ask your mom.
Good evening. I've been married for 18 years. I have 5 children. In 2017, I found out that my husband took a second wife.
Well, what do you want to know from me?
He hid all of this. There's already a child there. Of course, I was very upset about it.
Women experience a lot of happiness from children. A man is built in such a way that he doesn't experience as much happiness from children. He only experiences a lot of happiness from young women. If there's no God in life, then a man undoubtedly commits such actions, especially in the East, when it's more or less somehow allowed. That's how men are built. That means that women experience a lot of happiness from children. A man only experiences it from women, and only from young ones. Therefore, when a woman is older, a man doesn't know where to find happiness. But if people serve God in the family, then he's happy from this. He begins to see the soul in his wife. He starts to build very deep, pure, sublime relationships with her. And then he gives up this desire. It seems you were living incorrectly. You only thought about family and children. You didn't think about God. That's why you lost your husband. Well, I don't know to what extent you've lost him. Maybe this person still stays with you?
Well, we have Islam. One can take up to 4 wives. He told me to be glad that it's only one.
I can't imagine how this is possible. I can't even handle one. She drives me crazy, you see. And here, 2 wives. 4 would be a nightmare. Is he trying to create a hellish life for himself? I don't know what he wants at all.
I started listening to your lectures about 2 years ago. When I saw the situation, everything was revealed. I found out that his parents knew about it.
Do you want me to tell you something now? You believe in a person, but you should believe in God. That's why you're constantly thinking and talking about him. And even when Dr. Torsunov isn't here, you're internally talking only about him, and that's why you're being punished. Because you traded God for a person. Well, yes, that means you put a person above God. That's the problem. You need to resolve all of this in your heart and know that God has many ways to make you happy. That's it, this situation in your life. Don't be so stubborn about it. God has many ways to make you happy. Your life doesn't depend on some person. It only depends on your fate, which you must cope with. You're taking your exam now. This exam is about you believing in a person. Belief in a person is actually the main exam for any person in this life, and everyone takes this exam. When a person believes in another person, they lose themselves. Their self-esteem is completely crushed, and when self-esteem is completely crushed, that person becomes unsuccessful in everything, in activities or in love, and even their health isn't good and they have no friends. That means they lose everything in their life until they understand that one should believe in God and simply take care of their spouse. One should also discipline them. When a person believes in another person, they can't discipline them. They're humiliated in the relationship. One becomes like a slave to this person.
I completely agree with you.
There's a song about those people who believe in a person. They can reminisce about a person for years instead of simply praying and overcoming the stinginess in their heart. Because when a person believes in another person, it means that their heart is stingy. They don't want to believe that one truly needs to believe in something higher and purer. Belief in a person means belief in one's own personal happiness. Similarly, a person wants personal happiness from God and nothing more. They don't want to develop or realize anything in life. They only want pleasure, and that's all. And this is what belief in a person means. And a person who is in such a state lives their whole life in this amazing mood, which is like a beautiful song, but not so great as life. As the song says, "What made you forget the melody of love? Your faith made you do it." If someone believes in a person, it forces them to betray the melody of love. A person either needs to consider themselves a god or simply throw this person out of their life. Belief in a person ruins the person. It ruins love. It ruins relationships. A person becomes humiliated in these relationships. They lose themselves. Now raise your hand if you were loved so strongly that you had to leave the person. It was unbearable to live with them. Raise your hand if you've experienced this. Well, you know what I'm talking about. And raise your hand if you loved so strongly that you were left. Who humiliated themselves in life, lost themselves. That's how it all is. Therefore, relationships should have a pure, bright nature. You need to develop such relationships. Pure, bright love doesn't bind. It doesn't humiliate. It doesn't make a person a slave. It purifies, develops. One should strive for such love in relationships, but one should be attached to God and believe in God, have hope in God. Not in your fate or in a person. Do you pray? No? Then there's no need to ask me anything. It's all useless. You should now pray for an hour a day and listen to those who pray. Some praying people, repeat the prayer with them, listen to them intently, and overcome your fate. You've lost yourself as a person. There's no point in asking me anything more. You need to start rebuilding yourself. You're simply a lost person. Because you're living incorrectly, there's only one reason. And don't think that if you have 5 children, it means you're in a hopeless situation. I know many cases. At least I can recall 2 cases when a woman with 4 children got married excellently simply because she overcame her fate.
Thank you.
Well done for handing over the microphone. It means that you understood something, started to understand. That's good. There's a girl at the back with blonde hair. Yes, what do you want to ask me?
Dr. Torsunov, hello. I'm very grateful for your lectures.
Please sit down because people behind you can't see me.
I have this situation. We've been living between two countries for 4 years, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan.
Good countries.
These are very good countries. I'm now very much engaged in self-development, development of my personality, and I really want to live in one place.
Like any woman.
Yes, so that my children grow up in one country and develop.
Any woman wants to live in one place. It's simply great for her.
It's very difficult for me. I'm not the type of person who would just pack up and go. I don't know where to live.
If you don't know where to live, who then can solve this issue? If a woman sits down and says, I'm not going anywhere, then everyone knows where to live. But if a woman herself doesn't know where to live, then who can help you?
Please tell me, what should I do? I can't find this solution. I'm now very emotional.
That's not even the point. You see, you're restless. You live in one place for a bit, and then you need to move somewhere else, so you keep moving back and forth.
Can you advise if we should stay in Kyrgyzstan? I don't know. You're laughing, but...
Kyrgyzstan
Or Russia.
That's already a third option. Kazakhstan, no. Or in Russia, right? And where in Russia?
My aunt lives near Samara.
In Samara?
Yes.
Of course, it's better here.
Can you tell me why? Why are you laughing?
They're laughing with joy. They're happy for you. They love you. You're so good, so sincere. When a person speaks sincerely about something, everyone finds it funny because it's joyful, right? That's good, isn't it?
Dr. Torsunov, if I stay in Kyrgyzstan, will my husband follow me? I'm not sure about him.
It depends on how you build your relationship with him. If you're strong as a woman, what can he do? It's actually the husband who decides where to stay, not the wife. But the wife influences the decision. She can behave in such a way that he will decide as she needs. That's how women usually do it. They make the decision, but behave in such a way that men make the decision she needs. Therefore, they don't worry about it. But you're too naive for this, so you're making all the decisions yourself. You need to be a little smarter. You need to love your husband, take care of him, and somehow guide him towards the decision you need. Then he will do what's necessary. You need to understand one thing. As long as you're restless in your heart, he will be even more restless, because in a family, it's the woman who stabilizes the situation, not the man. It's she who tries to settle somewhere. The man then follows. You're the one who's restless.
I agree with you. There's no inner confidence.
You see, you don't believe in this country. You think that Russia is cool. You can develop there, or in Kazakhstan. But you don't believe in Kyrgyzstan, yet it's precisely here where you have good development. You've seen it. Whenever you're here, everything works out for you. Everything goes as it should. The same applies to your husband. This is the proof for you. In Samara, you'll have nothing. In Samara, your husband might actually leave you. There's 100% chance it could happen according to his fate.
Dr. Torsunov, one more question.
That's enough for you.
I'm grateful to you.
You see, restlessness. Until you take the microphone away from her, she'll keep asking. Your question, young lady. In turn, she goes first. You're both so modest in the front row.
Hello. Hello. Relatively speaking, everything is good in my life, but everything leads to God.
That's the purpose of human life.
My heart, either my heart or my mind, I can't believe in God.
Me neither. It's a great mystery. God is a mystery. He hides from us. He is right in your heart. He gives you the feeling of joy, the feeling of sadness. He also gives you knowledge about where to move in life. About 3.5 months ago, I can't say exactly, but around that time you had some serious choices in your life. Your heart told you, go there, and you went that way. That was God's doing.
I know that God is inside me, but it's not enough for me.
You want to see him, right?
Not exactly see. I know I won't see him.
Why? He can show himself if a person is worthy. He can show himself to a holy person.
Well, that's the power of faith.
It's very difficult, yes.
And which religion?
Religion is also a mercy. First, you need to live in the culture you're in. It's not religion, it's culture. Here it's Islam. Everyone accepts this, and it's normal.
But my heart isn't open to this.
This is culture, not faith. When a person accepts the culture, they already start feeling good, because culture is created by God. Accepting the culture is already good. As for faith, faith is accepted by a person. These are simply different moods of relationships with God. Different faiths represent different moods. Even within Islam, there are many different moods in relationships with God. When a person first accepts the very concept of faith, the religious culture itself, how does a person approach God? They begin to understand how good it is that there's Islam, that there's Christianity and so on. They start to feel that all of this is good, and then, among this good, they choose what's better. As the song says, how many good girls there are, first a man must acknowledge that girls are good. How many good girls there are, how many tender names, now it's getting specific. But only one troubles me. God gets closer to a person only if they accept that religious culture is a good thing. People develop there, they are all good. You find it interesting and you go here and there. You get interested in everything. Then you start to feel where your relationship with God can be the best. You begin to feel this because when a person opens their heart to God, He reminds them how He used to build a relationship with them. You are now closed off to everything, to faith, because you are frightened by it. You are afraid of faith because someone scared you. Did something happen in childhood? Isn't it self-deception? Yes, if a person blindly goes to God, it's self-deception. If a person comes through knowledge, then there's no self-deception. You just see that religious people are conscientious. They have a better understanding of how to live properly. They don't cheat on each other. You simply start to love and respect this. First, you open your heart to what God wants. And then, on the next stage, when you've opened your heart to Him, you begin to understand how to build a relationship with Him. You worry in vain that you have no faith in God. You have already served God a lot in your past life, and that's why you are sitting here. If this wasn't the case, you wouldn't have even come here. Not everyone can come here. That's why we don't rent a large hall.
Thank you.
You don't need to torment your heart, which is what you're doing now. You shouldn't do this. You have a scientific method of knowing God. You have vast experience and scientific understanding of God from past lives, and you will never give in to sentiments. You will only give in to knowledge. You started listening to my lectures because you see knowledge in them. There are no sentiments here. You see that this is a scientific process. Follow this path. You don't need any it won't help you. Study everything. Don't rush. You can allow yourself to think that God doesn't exist. He is so humble. He accepts everything. If, let's say, you were to think that I'm not at the lecture, I'm sitting here, but you still think I'm not here, I would feel somewhat uncomfortable. Especially if everyone thought so. But God, can live in a person's heart for many lives while that person thinks He doesn't exist. God is okay with this because He knows we are foolish. If a child is foolish, they don't know that their mother exists. They haven't even opened their eyes yet, and they just know there's milk for them. God gives a person food. They eat and think, oh, this is my food. They suck on the breast, but don't know yet that their mother gave it to them because their eyes are closed. God is okay with this. The mother is okay with it because she knows that the time will come when her beloved child will definitely open their eyes and will definitely see her. No, through love. Love makes the child open their eyes. It happens that if a child is not loved, they might remain with closed eyes for their entire life. They don't want to look at the world that doesn't love them. This happens. Such facts are described in medicine. But this is not your case. This world loves you. You receive everything you need in life from it.